Like many of you, I'm sure, the first BioWare game I ever played was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic way back in the year of our Lord 2003. I was 19, my OG Xbox was brand spanking new, and that game was a revelation to me. Having discovered BioWare existed, and knowing they were in fact a creative and technical powerhouse, I made it a point to enjoy every major new game they released over the next 2 decades. Jade Empire, the Mass Effects, the Dragon Ages, Anthem. What? I actually kind of liked how that one played. Fast forward to 2024, and BioWare has done something I didn't know they were still capable of, impressing me to the point of sheer childlike jubilance. Let me be blunt, guys. Start off on sure footing here. Dragon Age: The Veilguard is a true return to form for the series and for its developer, something I was worrying would never happen after the EA buyout, Mass Effect Andromeda, and the aforementioned Anthem. BioWare has at last heard the fans, people, and they have produced a fantasy RPG worthy of their own fabled legacy. That's not to say some of the choices BioWare has made in Dragon Age: The Veilguard haven't been controversial. Development of the game began in 2015 and experienced plenty of setbacks, especially once it became clear to the team the original plan wasn't going to fly. No live service like Anthem, no multiplayer of any kind. Instead, the game that was once called Dreadwolf has arrived in all its glory with a stout, confident, highly enjoyable single-player experience that'll last you upwards of 100 hours for a complete run-through. 60 hours of that, by the way, is devoted to side content, more or less, which ought to tell you something. BioWare has once again produced a hefty, lofty video game. A game that urges you, with all its considerable might, to tune in, drop out, and mage some up. Select from 3 races and 3 classes, and know that the choices you made in previous entries in the series no longer matter. The development team have more or less abandoned that aspect of their games, that old story continuation feature, which became pretty clear after they released Andromeda. That is a shame, truly. Finishing a great game and knowing you'll get another crack at your unique character and story again in the future was always cool. But truth be told, BioWare never were all that good at sticking the landing, and I think they must have finally realized that. Anyone remember the multiple endings of Mass Effect 3? I'd rather not go through that kind of disappointment again, would you? Anyway, sometimes, as Pumbaa of Timon and Pumbaa fame once famously said, you've got to put your behind in your past.
No. Amateur. Lie down before you hurt yourself.
This is a different world here in 2024, and I'm a totally different person. You might just be too. It was actually kind of refreshing to jump into Veilguard without past choices weighing me down. What turns out to be a pretty focused and entertaining narrative is pretty fresh now. The beginning of the game sees you finally confront and capture Solus, the Dreadwolf himself. Perhaps a bit anticlimactic after the events of Inquisition, but we got bigger gods to fry now, and Solus is actually interested in helping us do so. To me, one of the real strengths of Veilguard is in its characters. 7 companions and the player-defined Rook. These characters each come with unique skills, looks, and backstories, though unlike in past Dragon Age games, none of them are directly controllable. That's because BioWare has transformed its famous play and pause turn-based battle system into a fully fledged action powerhouse, one that performs very much on par with other moderately complex action-adventure titles on the market today. It's no Elden Ring as far as difficulty or intricacy goes, and mastering it is not so tough, but I do believe the development team deserves a ton of credit for changing their game's fundamental, brass-tacks playstyle while still managing to retain every ounce of the old Dragon Age feel, style, and charm. Visuals are terrific. Environments are full, large, and detailed, though some people might be turned off by the slightly cartoony look to character design. The game is likely to be polarizing in general, splitting players along political lines, let's call it. Diehards who may resent all the evolutionary evolutionness, and then the more forward-thinking folks who prefer a modern feel. I'm in the latter camp. I don't like feeling stuck in the past, not when the new is so much damn fun. No, I can't select and slide right into characters in the middle of the action, queue up some attacks, issue some battle orders, not really. I can, however, participate in some fairly dynamic real-time fights that work my reflexes and make me feel like a monster in the field. Pausing the action with the right bumper, on Xbox, it'll be the R1 button on your PS5 controller, pulls up a contextual ally menu that enables you to command in a simpler way the powers and actions of your companions. It's an aspect of classic Dragon Age play that has been selectively marginalized in order to promote something more engrossing, in my opinion. In a very real way, these fights belong to you and you alone, my friends. My specific rook was an elven mage, a classic hang back and control your opponent's mana slinger with a few twists. For one, Veilguard's mages wield both a traditional wizard staff and a magic sword for on-the-fly swapping between long-range spellcasting and close-up blade crossing. The mage knife is also accompanied by a magic orb that allows you to modify the power output and element type of your attacks. Your abilities kind of stack up on and reinforce each other, like in any good action game, letting you choose in the heat of things how best to strategize and bring the epic fantasy pain. More or less, every weapon and cosmetic I applied to Rook did something for her. Modified a stat or increased my damage output or provided me with entire new ways to fight. It felt great, punchy, packed with power, at least in direct comparison to the more muted, slow, and deliberate playstyles of Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Inquisition. I didn't get to try out the other two available classes for the purposes of this review, but believe me, I intend to. Each seems completely unique, and if warriors and rogues are all as well designed as the mage class, players en masse are in for a treat. I love the backstories and personalities of the 7 companion characters too. Like the other entries in the series, you can only have 2 with you at any given time, and that truly becomes a hard choice because each brings something cool to the table. There's Davrin, the elven Grey Warden with a pet griffin you can utilize in battle. Tosh, the Qunari dragon hunter with the big axe and the even bigger personality. A detective mage, an erudite necromancer, a shadowy assassin. All these characters are well drawn and enjoyable to interact with and to watch bounce off one another. As always, BioWare is no slouch with the virtual personalities and the additional context they can provide. Choices in dialogue trees do have consequences, but probably less so now that Dragon Age cares not for your old save files. Still, when I helped stop one dragon assault at the expense of another, and saw the resulting devastation for myself, I couldn't help but feel my companion Lucanus's desperation, disappointment, and pain. I had to make that choice to proceed, but the game made sure Lucanus was a changed person in measurable and specific gamified ways. That's pretty cool, especially for a series that has stripped itself down to the essentials and overhauled much of what players took for that certain Dragon Age-y quality. Like I said, Veilguard is likely to polarize everybody, even in the real-world political sense, because like so many games made today, it's got a mind to engage with the LGBTQ discussion. But if you don't care for politics, or you're open-minded about new twists on old favorites, so you love a good time, or you just want to disappear into a beautiful, lush fantasy world for dozens and dozens of hours on end, look no further than this 4th Dragon Age. This is a better experience than Mass Effect Andromeda, better by far than anything Anthem brought to the table, and yes, due to the characters, the story, the stunning graphics, and most importantly of all, the gripping real-time action, I'm willing to say Veilguard is my favorite Dragon Age so far. If Inquisition forced the series to expand and grow up to a certain extent, Veilguard launches it into the next-gen future. Joyful, slick, more bells and whistles than you can shake a Qunari war club at. Perhaps not quite as top-notch as Dragon Age 2, Mass Effect 2, or my dearly beloved KOTOR, but fundamentally geared up for a single thing, proving once and for all BioWare is still the master of this genre, indisputably, and that they ain't going anywhere, baby. At least I hope not. You made me believe again, Dragon Age. You made me believe. And for that, you have my thanks. Jeff Bull Central gives Dragon Age the Veilguard a very well-deserved 9 out of 10. Now, if you don't mind, I've got plenty of side quests to finish off. Like and subscribe if you're so inclined. Hit the notification bell and all that old song and dance. I produce at least 2 videos per week, gaming, music, and mental health discussions. Stop by if you're feeling frisky. See you again some other sunny day, peoples. Same Bulls time, same Bulls channel. Da-da-da-da-da. Pretend to be the man who cares about a single thing, apart from touching me and gladly taking all the blame. I'd sell my soul just to tear you from my brain. She said you're dead to me, just dead to me.